You can't just move in. You haven't paid the community transfer
You
security.
can't just move in,
No one told me
Karen
about any
snapped,
fee.
arms crossed, blocking my
Ma'am,
moving
we
truck.
just got a call. A patient
You haven't
needs
paid the
medical
community
attention
transfer
ASAP.
security.
What?
I blinked at her, jaw tight. Wait, what? I just closed. I paid everything. Every single fee at closing. Where is this $15,000 coming from? Karen tilted her head, thin smile sharp as a knife. I make the rules here. You're either compliant or you stay out. I took a step forward, anger boiling over. You're joking, right? The closing documents say nothing about this. I've done everything right. You can't just invent fees and expect me to pay. Karen laughed, low and cold. Invent? No, dear. I enforce. I decide what's required. This is Maplewood Lane. Order, structure, compliance. You think you're special? Everyone pays. Everyone. I could feel my face heating up, my voice shaking with fury. Special? I just bought this house. I've been nothing but upfront. You can't hold me hostage over your imaginary fee. This is extortion. Karen leaned closer, eyes glinting. Extortion? Ha! I call it governance, and trust me, I've handled people like you before. You will pay, or you will not enter. Welcome to Ruthless HOA Tales, where fake authority always meets real consequences. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want more stories like this. She didn't move. My moving truck sat idling while neighbors peeked out, phones recording every second. When I threatened the HOA lawyer, she smirked, crossing her arms like she owned the street. I don't care about lawyers, she said. Rules are rules. Compliance isn't optional. Hours later, sirens screamed through the quiet neighborhood. An ambulance pulled up fast, lights flashing. Paramedics sprinted to the gate, but Karen planted herself in the path. You can't come in without authorization, she said firmly. One medic froze. Ma'am, there's a cardiac emergency inside. Rules don't disappear because someone's in a hurry, Karen snapped. A neighbor shouted, just open the gate. This is private property, she said, voice icy. Inside, screams echoed. Her husband's name. Karen hesitated, a beat too long. By the time the police forced the gate open, it was too late. Her husband didn't survive. The videos went viral. Karen was ousted as president within hours. The city fined the HOA. Lawsuits piled up. Her fake authority crumbled before the public eye. Power didn't save her. It destroyed everything she touched. The neighborhood was buzzing. Phones out, cameras rolling. Everyone had seen the videos. Karen's face, red and furious, was everywhere. No filter, no spin, just her standing in front of the ambulance, blocking it while her husband cried out inside. I watched as neighbors whispered, shaking their heads. Some glared at her like she'd just announced war on humanity. The HOA office called. Emails poured in from outraged residents demanding answers. Karen tried to claim she was following policy, but no one cared. Even the local news had caught wind of it. A reporter showed up at her gate, camera rolling. Ma'am, why did you block emergency responders? Karen faltered. Her words, rehearsed and sharp just yesterday, tangled on her tongue. I was enforcing. Rules? The reporter pressed. Your husband died while you decided compliance was more important than human life. The crowd around her gate grew, voices rising in anger. Some neighbors yelled for her removal, others recorded every word. Her phone buzzed nonstop, threats, complaints, demands for her resignation. Inside the HOA, meetings were convened within hours. The board had no choice. Karen was stripped of her presidency. Her access to HOA accounts was revoked. The city fined the association, citing obstruction of emergency services. Karen retreated to her house, slamming doors, scrolling through the viral videos of her own making. The same neighbors she'd filmed and harassed were now mocking her, sharing memes, quoting her cold words back to her. Even her family wasn't spared. Relatives called, some angry, some ashamed, asking how she could justify such cruelty. Her social life imploded. Every invitation, every friendly neighborly wave evaporated. Karen's world, the world she thought she controlled with rules, fines, and authority, was crumbling faster than she could blink. And yet, she still didn't fully grasp the scope of the damage she'd unleashed. Karen thought she could weather the storm, but the law didn't negotiate. Lawyers arrived at her doorstep with subpoenas and demands for testimony. Her actions, once justified in her mind as enforcing policy, were now evidence in multiple lawsuits. The city cited her personally for obstruction of emergency services. Every headline reminded her that her power had limits she'd ignored. HOA president blocks ambulance, costs life, screamed across social media feeds. Neighbors who once feared her now thrived on her downfall. They shared videos, rewrote her words, and mocked her obsession with control. Karen's attempts to defend herself online only made things worse. Clips of her arguing over compliance fees went viral, hashtags trending within hours. Even her friends and family began to distance themselves. Calls went unanswered. Invitations stopped coming. Her husband's colleagues, friends, and distant relatives who had once tolerated her obsession now spoke openly about her recklessness. Desperate, Karen tried to regain control. She demanded meetings with the HOA board, sent emails threatening legal action against residents who recorded her, and attempted to delete videos. But it was too late. The internet doesn't forget, and her reputation was gone. Inside her house, the walls that once gave her a sense of control now felt like a prison. Every knock on the door, every phone notification reminded her of the chaos she'd caused. She couldn't undo the moment when she hesitated, the moment she chose rules over a human life. Her neighbors whispered about her constantly, and every glance felt like judgment. Karen realized, too late, that power without respect is fragile, and entitlement without empathy is fatal. She wasn't just removed from her position, she was erased from the authority she'd built, a cautionary tale the entire community would remember. The ghost of Maplewood Lane. Karen vanished from the neighborhood as quickly as her authority had crumbled. No more morning gate inspections, no more fining residents for imaginary violations, no more viral videos of her entitlement. Her house sat quiet, a hollow shell of the control she once wielded. The HOA board implemented sweeping changes. Gates were automated with strict emergency overrides, fees were reviewed and ruled illegal, and compliance policies were rewritten. The neighborhood had learned a hard lesson. Blind obedience to authority could be deadly. Neighbors, once wary of her, shared stories of her hubris with new residents. Karen became a whispered cautionary tale, the president who valued rules over life and lost everything. Her disappearance didn't bring closure. Some said she moved away, ashamed. Others speculated she was facing lawsuits, debt, and the social exile she'd earned. But one truth remained visible to everyone. The power she wielded so ruthlessly had vanished like smoke, leaving only the damage in its wake. The man she had threatened with the $15,000 compliance fee finally settled in, sharing his story with other residents. The community, united by the horror of her actions, grew stronger, more vigilant, and less willing to let entitlement go unchecked. Karen's rise and fall became legend on Maplewood Lane. She had built an empire of control with rules, fines, and fear, but in the end, that empire destroyed itself. Power didn't protect her. Control didn't save her. Entitlement consumed her. This is Ruthless HOA Tales. Subscribe for more stories where arrogance collides with reality, and the consequences are as real as they are ruthless.